Los Angeles International Airport was bustling as usual, with passengers rushing past the towering gates, each carrying their own story. Among the crowd was Marcus Reed, 32 years old, striding confidently, bordering on arrogance. His perfectly tailored suit hugged his frame, and a vibrant red tie seemed to announce to the world that he was important. Or at least, he believed he was. Marcus had just closed a multi-million-dollar deal for his tech company, a success he viewed as undeniable proof of his brilliance. As he stepped into the first-class cabin on his flight to Tokyo, his head held high, his eyes scanned the passengers as if assessing their worth. With practiced precision, Marcus tossed his designer bag into the overhead compartment and sank into seat 2A. His rightful place, or so he thought. From his bag, he retrieved a gleaming laptop and began typing, the rhythmic clicks, a proclamation. I'm shaping the future. No one paid him any attention, but that didn't matter. Marcus was accustomed to making himself the center of everything, whether anyone asked for it or not. Just then, a quiet man entered the first-class cabin and settled into seat 2B. There were no designer bags or flashy airs, just a worn canvas backpack and simple attire. A gray hoodie, a baseball cap pulled low, and scuffed sneakers. The man moved with calm ease, blending seamlessly into his surroundings, almost as if he intended to be invisible. Marcus glanced at his new seatmate, smirked slightly, and muttered under his breath, "First class, dressed like you just came from the gym." The comment, loud enough for himself to hear, drew no reaction. Satisfied with his assessment, Marcus returned his focus to his laptop, oblivious to the contemplative gaze his companion briefly cast in his direction. In Marcus's mind, he was the standout of the cabin. Little did he know, this flight would forever alter his view of the world and himself. Settling into his plush seat, Marcus sipped champagne with one hand while scrolling through his latest smartphone with the other. From time to time, he stole glances at the man next to him, now placing his backpack neatly under the seat and quietly putting on headphones. The stark contrast between their styles, his own ostentatious flair versus the man's understated simplicity, piqued Marcus's curiosity and, to his surprise, his irritation. Unable to bear the silence, Marcus decided to break the ice. Tilting his head slightly, he addressed the man with just enough volume to be heard. "So, what do you do to end up here?" The man slowly looked up, his eyes partially obscured under the brim of his cap. He replied in a succinct, unembellished tone. "Tech." Marcus laughed, louder than necessary, and leaned back in his seat, his expression brimming with condescension. "Tech? Right. These days, everyone's in tech. Hard to stand out, huh?" The man didn't respond, offering only a faint nod before returning his attention to his phone. His composure, rather than calming Marcus, only fueled his annoyance. Marcus wasn't used to being ignored. Placing his champagne glass down with a loud clink, Marcus leaned forward, his tone sharper now. "You know, this industry is full of people who just sell ideas. Take Elon Musk, for example. Everyone acts like he's a genius, but what is he really? Just a PR guy making noise." The man paused momentarily, glancing at Marcus with a slight, almost imperceptible smile before looking away again. Marcus took this as encouragement to continue, his confidence swelling. "I mean, come on. People worship this guy. Rockets, billions of dollars blown up, electric cars, hardly revolutionary, and Twitter? What a mess. If anyone wants real value, they should look at people like me, people building things that actually matter." Still silent, the man returned to his phone, his indifference a wall Marcus's words bounced off. Yet instead of deterring him, it spurred Marcus on. "What do you think?" Marcus pressed, his tone now bordering on challenging. "Am I wrong?" For the first time, the man raised his eyes fully, calm and unwavering, like the surface of a still lake. His voice was measured but firm. "Everyone has their own perspective." That was all. A brief response, but enough to momentarily silence Marcus. However, his arrogance quickly resurfaced. Folding his arms, he leaned back, proud of his lecture. Unbeknownst to Marcus, every cutting remark, every self-important assertion was laying the groundwork for the lesson of a lifetime, one that would soon shatter his worldview. As the plane cruised steadily through the night sky, Marcus sipped his champagne, basking in what he believed was his commanding presence. He had no idea that the silence from seat 2B was more powerful than any response he could have imagined. The man beside him remained silent, occasionally flipping through the pages of a book or jotting down notes in a small notebook. His demeanor, simple yet composed, did not put Marcus at ease. In fact, it only made him more agitated. Suddenly, a flight attendant approached, bowing slightly with a tone of utmost respect. "Mr. Musk," she said, her voice calm and professional, "I wanted to inform you that your connecting flight in Tokyo has been arranged. If there's anything else you need, please let us know." Marcus froze. The words Mr. Musk echoed in his mind like a deafening gong, each syllable growing heavier. He turned to the man beside him, his sense of time slowing to a crawl. His eyes widened, and his face turned ashen. In that moment, every mocking word he had uttered earlier replayed vividly in his mind. Elon Musk is just a PR guy. Rockets. All they do is blow up. Nothing groundbreaking there. The man beside him, dressed in a faded hoodie and worn sneakers, was none other than Elon Musk. Elon nodded politely at the flight attendant, the corner of his mouth curving into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. Then, he returned to his book, as if the exchange had been nothing out of the ordinary. Marcus felt the air in the cabin grow stifling. He tried to steady himself with a deep breath, but his mind was completely blank. Nearby, passengers glanced over, their expressions a mix of curiosity and amusement, further heightening Marcus's discomfort. He wanted to say something, a half-hearted excuse, a clumsy apology, but no words came out. His lips parted, but all he managed was a stammered, Elon said nothing. He continued reading, occasionally turning the pages, never once glancing at Marcus. Yet, it was this silence, the absence of any acknowledgement, that made Marcus feel as though he was under the sharpest scrutiny. For the first time during the flight, Marcus no longer felt like the center of attention. Gone were his arrogant remarks, his sense of superiority. Instead, he was engulfed by an overwhelming sense of shame. He took a sip of champagne, but its taste was no longer sweet. It was bitter, sharp, and unpalatable. The whispers around him weren't loud, but to Marcus, they sounded like mocking laughter, echoing endlessly in his ears. Elon turned another page, his calm demeanor unchanged, as if the earlier jabs and criticisms Marcus had made didn't exist. Yet it was this tranquility that acted as a mirror, forcing Marcus to confront himself. "I was wrong!" The thought rang in Marcus's mind like a belated realization. He sat motionless, staring at his now lukewarm champagne. For the first time, Marcus felt truly small. He remained in his seat, weighed down by the growing burden of regret. The mockery, the self-importance he had flaunted earlier, they all replayed in his mind like ink stains that refused to fade. Marcus stole another glance at Elon Musk, the composed figure next to him, and felt like a mere student who had just been handed the lesson of a lifetime. Taking a deep breath, Marcus decided to break the silence. This time, his voice was no longer sharp, but shaky and sincere. "Mr. Musk," he began, hesitating as if searching for the right words. I want to apologize. I didn't know who you were and said things that weren't right. I was wrong." Elon looked up from his book, his gaze gentle yet luminous, as if he could see straight into Marcus's thoughts. A faint smile crossed his face, soft, without the slightest hint of mockery. "It's okay," Elon replied, his voice warm and remarkably calm. "Criticism can sometimes be very useful, if it comes from a place of understanding." Marcus nodded slightly, though the unease in his eyes remained. He fumbled for words, trying to explain himself. But what I said, it was all baseless. I thought I knew more than I actually did. Now, I just feel so small. Elon tilted his head slightly, his gaze growing distant as if reflecting on something far greater. His response was measured, more like a universal lesson than just an answer to Marcus. Nobody knows everything, not even me. But I believe that everything we do, whether big or small, should aim to create real value. And sometimes to achieve that, we must face criticism, both constructive and otherwise. Marcus sat quietly, struck by the simplicity and depth of those words. He had never considered life through such a lens. Elon continued, his voice low but weighted with meaning. Did you know Tesla isn't just about making cars? Our self-driving technology has saved thousands of lives by reducing traffic accidents, preventing tragedies that never needed to happen. The numbers don't lie, even if some people still doubt and criticize us. Marcus nodded, for the first time during the flight entirely silent, truly listening. Elon paused briefly, his eyes gazing into the distance. And SpaceX. Yes, I know people think we're just burning through money. But we've reduced the cost of sending humans and materials into space by 90%. That's not just an achievement. It's opening a future where humanity can survive and overcome threats like natural disasters or even extinction-level events. Marcus wanted to say something, but no words came. He sat there, absorbing each of Elon's statements, as though they were lighting a new path in his mind. Elon smiled lightly before continuing. Twitter? Yes, I know it's chaotic, but sometimes chaos is the birthplace of great ideas. I believe progress doesn't come without friction and conflict. That's how humanity learns and grows. A wave of emotion surged through Marcus. Everything he had mocked earlier now seemed like valuable lessons, revealing not just his own mistakes, but also the immense sacrifice, responsibility, and vision that Elon Musk had brought to the world. In a soft, earnest voice, Marcus finally spoke. I never thought about it that way. What you've done, it goes far beyond anything I could imagine. I was wrong to judge you. Elon met Marcus's gaze, his eyes neither condemning nor judging, but encouraging. We all make mistakes, Elon said gently. What matters is whether we're willing to change our perspective and learn from them. Those words, though simple, felt like a mirror reflecting Marcus's true self. He nodded, his heart filled with gratitude, not just for Elon's forgiveness, but for the profound lessons he had just received. For the first time during the flight, Marcus didn't think about himself or his achievements. Instead, he reflected on what truly mattered in life and the legacy he wanted to leave behind. Those words, though simple, felt like a giant mirror reflecting Marcus's soul. He nodded, his heart filled with gratitude, not just for Elon's forgiveness, but for the invaluable lessons he had gained in this fleeting moment. Marcus leaned back in his seat, feeling as though he had just embarked on a profound spiritual journey. For the first time during the flight, he wasn't thinking about himself, his success, or his ego. Instead, his mind was consumed by thoughts of what truly mattered in life: purpose, impact, and humility. As the plane began its descent, the cabin lights brightened, signaling the end of the journey. Passengers stirred, gathering their belongings, but Marcus remained seated, his thoughts still lingering on the transformation unfolding within him. Turning to Elon Musk, Marcus spoke, his voice now more sincere than ever before. Mr. Musk, he began, his eyes filled with respect. Thank you. What you've shared isn't just a lesson about work. It's a lesson about life. I was wrong to judge you, and I was wrong to judge those who dared to dream bigger than I ever could. Elon looked up, his warm smile gentle yet meaningful. I'm glad to hear that, he replied, his tone calm and encouraging. We've all misjudged at some point. What's important is whether we're willing to learn and grow from it. Marcus nodded, a weight lifting from his chest. A spark ignited within him, a newfound resolve to shed his arrogance and focus on creating meaningful contributions to the world. As the plane touched down in Tokyo, Elon stood, gathering his belongings. Before stepping away, he turned back to Marcus and said, with a quiet smile, "Good luck with your work. I hope it's something that makes a difference." Marcus watched as Elon disappeared into the crowd, his calm and composed figure fading from view. For the first time in years, Marcus felt more than just a successful entrepreneur. He felt like a human being beginning to understand the deeper meaning of humility and responsibility. As Marcus stepped off the plane, the bright lights of Tokyo's airport seemed to illuminate a new path for him to follow. He knew he couldn't change overnight, but he also understood what mattered most. Don't judge what you don't understand. Those who dare to dream big are the ones who change the world. With this hard-earned lesson, Marcus walked forward, carrying a heart humbled and a renewed sense of purpose to create real value for the world, even if it was just a small part of the larger picture painted by visionaries like Elon Musk.